Could you please introduce yourself by sharing your name and your age?
I'm Isaiah Miller and I'm 52 years old.
Can you tell us about your family and what makes your family special and unique?
I'm a single mum with two special needs children, aged 17 and 10.
How did you feel the day your children were diagnosed?
To be honest with you, when my first child was diagnosed, it was devastating. I cried for a long time, and it was like all dreams and aspirations I had for him was totally gone out of the window. I actually had to look up what autism was, and then I did a course um, of understanding autism, and then after that there was a break. I decided just to focus on him, get him what he needs, and focus on him being so-called normal, because with his diagnosis I was told that he would never be out of nappies, he would never speak, he would never read, he will always be dependent. He came out of nappies at the age of 7, and even though you can't have a conversation with him, he does speak. He can read. His writing's atrocious, but he can write. Um, he's always been very, very good at maths and science. So with his diagnosis, I was absolutely devastated. With my daughter's diagnosis, obviously being used to it, I didn't necessarily agree with her diagnosis, but there is something there, and she she's classed as high functioning autism. So it's my son is severe autistic. My daughter's high functioning for autism. So it's just I get where the spectrum bit comes into it with that.
Mm-hmm.
With her, I wasn't so upset because I was already used to the idea with my son.
Right.
But it's just I wouldn't change him anyway. So
And can you share a specific memory or moment that stands out for the journey from for your children?
um, I think for my son, he's proved the doctors wrong time and time again every year. Like I said, from he was diagnosed, they said that basically he would be a retard and he wouldn't be able to do anything. He would never be able to follow instructions. He would never be able to be independent. He would always be dependent on somebody. And I refused to treat him like a retard, like they said he would be. So I gave him, from a very young age, I gave him little chores to do. I gave him um, instructions on what to do. Okay, at first it started off with one instruction, then maybe two, and I had to maybe remind him. But then now I can tell, give him a list of things to do, and he'll do it. He can follow instructions independently. He can do a lot of things for himself. He can make himself a cup of tea now. He can make himself some toast or crumpets or drinking chocolate. I can actually go out and leave him at home and know that he is okay. He will not open the door to nobody. He will um, make himself something if he wants it. So he has his independence. So for me, that is a massive thing for him. For my daughter, they said that she has learning difficulties and stuff like that. And she is in year 5. She's 10 years old, but she's actually in a class with 13-year-olds because she's academically at that level. And my son as well, he is in sixth form, but he's working at university level.
Wow, wow.
Mm.
Um, what has been the what resources or support systems have been most valuable to you in your role as a parent of a child with special needs?
Um, I think doing the early birds course, like when you understand autism, is nice to meet other parents who's in that bubble with you that can understand where you're coming from. It's nice to get ideas on how to deal with certain things concerning the children, because sometimes it's just trial and error, and sometimes it's just a matter of asking somebody, well, what do you do if this would happen, and then that's easy. I mean, that's been very, very helpful, having a forum like that.
And how do you manage the difficult days?
The difficult days are hard, really, really hard, and my son always wants to be at home. My daughter always wants to go out, so it's hard to find a happy medium. So if I need to do anything, I need to pre-warn him that this is what we're doing. So when it happens, he may kick off, he may not. I don't know. My daughter, she doesn't like loud noises, so I have to pre-warn her if we're going to somewhere that's going to be noisy and stuff. When they kick off, I mean, just like any other parent, you shout at them, you tell them off, and they have consequences as well. I don't treat them differently as you would a normal child, or a child without special needs. They still have to listen. They still have to do what I've asked them to do, whether they want to or not. At the end of the day, I'm the parent, so they do have to listen. So they do have their punishments if they have bad days. I mean, there are some days where they can be upset. With my daughter, I know I can sit down and talk to her and ask her what's wrong. With my son, it's very, very hard. And with him, I have to give him his space. I have to leave him alone. And when he's ready, he will come and give me a hug, and I know that everything's okay.
Do you think that your organisation and your ability to run a tight ship is a consequence of you being a single parent, that you don't want things to become chaotic?
I had to run a tight ship because when my son was little, he used to hit out, and he used to hit me, and he was a strong toddler. I tell you, he was a strong toddler. But I had to put a stop to that because I knew, especially with his needs and getting angry, when he's older, he could overpower me. Because there has been times, even when he was younger, he pulled me over, and and things like that. So I had to put a stop to that. So I've had to run a tight ship in order for me to not necessarily keep control, but let them know that there are boundaries and that you can't cross them. Yeah.
What strategies or coping mechanisms have helped you navigate the emotional ups and downs of being a parent to children with special needs?
I think having my beliefs, my faith, that has helped a lot. Uh, I don't have a break from them. I'm either with one of them or both of them. And if the only time, well, I have a break really is when they're at school. And even then, I've got the housework to do. I've got to tidy up. I've got to do everything. And sometimes it's hard because I have my needs as well, because I'm registered disabled. So it's very hard sometimes to keep upkeep with everything. I am grateful though, because my daughter helps a lot. And she does things sometimes that I can't manage to do. She'll just do it. And there's times where I have to ask, there's times I don't. My son, he has his chores that he does, and he will just do them as well, so that helps.
Do you think being a parent of children with special needs brings strain on relationships?
It can. And I think that if you're a single person and you get into a relationship, I think you should be honest and upfront straight away. Don't, okay, yeah, you've got kids, okay, that's fair enough. But the fact that they have special needs, I think that is very, very important for the person to know, because they're going in blindly, and okay, they might know you have children, but they don't know that they have special needs. So I think that telling a potential partner about a child with special needs is good, and I don't think that introducing them straight away is a good idea neither, because it's also adjustment for the person that you're going to be in a relationship. It's also adjustment for the kids.
Are there any significant lessons you've learned about yourself through the experiences you've have raising children with special needs?
Um, I realised that I'm stronger a person than I thought I was. I I know, growing up I was always a shy person, but having children with special needs, I've had to stand up because I'm their voice. If I don't stand up for them, who is? So I have to show them that no matter what, there's somebody in their corner. I'm my son's voice who's nonverbal. I'm his voice. My daughter, is something that's upset her, she needs to see me standing up and fighting her corner. So it's made me realise that things that I probably would have let pass if it was about me, I have to stand up for my children.
Can you share a heartwarming or inspiring story about your children that you hold dear?
Um, I think for my son, it's his relationship he had with my dad. He was very, very close to my dad, and just because he was non-verbal, um, I didn't realize how close he was until my dad passed away, and he I had to do like a social story for him to understand that my dad had passed away, and he got on the computer on the laptop and said he wanted to see granddad. So I had to take him to the morgue. He was a bit offish, obviously, but he got it after that. It affected him. He withdrew for about a month or two, and then he stopped asking about granddad because I think it made sense to him that he's not going to see him again. So that's for my son, that he he can show his feelings even though he can't say I'm sad or I want this, I want that. He can show his feelings, and for me that was a dear moment for him because losing my dad was so quick that and he adjusted really, really well, and I had to be strong for both of them. And funnily enough, I lost my mum when my son was a baby, so he was 9 months, and she was his main carer because I was ill, because they put the epidural in the wrong place when having him because I had a cesarean, and that's what made me disabled. So she was his main carer, and when he passed away, it affected him, as in he wouldn't eat. He was always crying, always looking around for her. But for my daughter, she looks like my mum. She acts like my mum. Everything that about my mum is my daughter. There's days where I remember when she was younger, she used to look up and just smile and laugh. And, what are you laughing at, Nana? Now, I never told her that she had a Nana because she doesn't, And, she used to do really mischievous things. The time she flooded the house because she took her clothes off and flushed it down the toilet, downstairs bathroom. So flushed, and she flooded the house, flooded all of downstairs. And I'm saying, who told you to do that? She went, Nana did. And I couldn't even shout at her because that's the kind of thing that my mum would have done, and probably would have told her to do as well. So, for me, that even though she doesn't know my mum, she kind of like has a bond as well. So that's special for me.
What has been the most significant challenge that you faced up to this point?
The most, um, I think it's being on my own, having to do everything on my own. I've just recently come out of hospital. I've had an operation, but yeah, I've had to carry on because there's nobody there. Yes, I have family, yes, I have friends, but they have their own family that they need to cater for. So for me to depend on them, that's just a big no-no. So I've had to carry on my own, and sometimes that can be hard.
And how has your perspective on parenting and life in general evolved since becoming a parent?
Um, I think about my parents and I'm thinking the things that they used to say, and I find myself saying it as well. And even the okay, typical Jamaican family, you know, grew up back in the day, and you know, obviously punishments weren't very good. But the only thing I do differently is not hit my kids. I don't hit them. There's other means of punishing them that you don't have to. No TV, no iPad, no that you know that's devastating for them because that's all they live for. So I don't have to go so extreme, but I do find that I do actually say and do sometimes do things that they would have done with us.
Have there been any unexpected joys or positive surprises to come from raising children with special needs?
um, I think the joys of raising them is that if I had to do it all over again, I'd choose them with special needs because I think their their needs make them who they are. Because if I was to have a typical 17-year-old, he'll probably be telling me where to go, slamming the door, not coming home. And but at least with the special needs child, I know where he is. He's constantly with me or at school. He's never apart from that, you know, he's nowhere else. And uh, a 10-year-old that could have been always, I'm just going to my friend's house, I'm just going here, I'm just going here, mum, can I go here, mum, can I go there, on her own, which I know she's not able to because neither of them have any awareness of danger. So I wouldn't let them just go off. So I think having them as special needs it makes it more, what's the word, comforting because like I know what they're about rather than holding secrets and you know locked up in their room doing whatever. You know, my son could have brought a girl home by now, but he has obviously he hasn't. So
Looking back on your journey with your children, what do you know now that you wish you knew when they were born?
that they would have had these special needs because like I say, finding out that my son had autism was devastating for me. But because I did the course and then I've lived with it, it wasn't so hard on my daughter was diagnosed. But I think if there was something that could have been invented or discovered to help um, with, I think I'm thinking more of my son because he's nonverbal, and because he's nonverbal, is harder. Um, can you imagine a 17-year-old having a tantrum still? You know, because that happens because he can't. It's frustration for him. It's frustrating for me. It's frustrating for his sister because there's times where he lashes out, hits her, tries to hit me. You know, he has hit me, and you know it's hard. So it's just something that could detect autism before, so you can prepare better. Mm.
Could you offer some advice for other parents who have children with special needs, but in particular single parents?
Do as much as you can with them. Treat them as you would any other person or child. Don't don't let them get away with the things because they have special needs. Special needs children need boundaries more than what a child without special needs does. So if you treat them normally, and you'll get the response normally because like people say, oh, that's not normal. It is normal for them because that's their life. So having special needs is normal for them. So you have to treat them like you would any other child. You know, don't let them get away with things because oh, they have special needs. Yes, they have special needs, but they also need to know what's wrong and what's right. Because if anything happens to you as a parent and they go into a home or go to live with somebody and they do something wrong, they're not going to know they've done anything wrong because they've always gotten away with it. So you need to put boundaries. And I think even more so because they have special needs.
Do you worry about the future?
Yes, I definitely do. My biggest fear was when when their dad left was what's going to happen if anything was to happen to me, to be fair. But then, like I said, when their dad left, my daughter was 6, and when I saw how she stepped up and took on roles that she wasn't even asked to take on, that for her it was a natural mothering instinct in her at the age of 6, and she helped a lot. That she was even awarded as a young carer. So she took on a role of being a carer when she didn't have to, and it was an automatic thing for her. She would look after her brother. There's obviously his fine motor skills isn't as good as hers, so simple things like getting him breakfast, helping him pour a drink, things like that, she would then take that on. So then that made me feel a bit better. If anything was to happen to me, I know that she would look out for her brother, because she's independent. Um, she does a lot of things for herself, which a lot of, at the time, 6, 7 year old, 8, 9, 10 year olds couldn't. So I know that my daughter is able to look after her brother as well as look after herself. You know, she helps me a hell of a lot. She sometimes looks after me when I'm on a bad day. So my worry for the future isn't as big as it used to be. But when they were younger, it was quite right. Oh, but now it's okay.
Can you give me one word that would describe each of your children?
Hmm. Um, my son is loving. My daughter is funny.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.